Deep beneath the Pacific Ocean, off the coast of Vancouver Island, a tectonic plate is tearing itself apart. Not cracking on the surface, not sinking into the sea. This is something happening miles below the ocean floor, a process of geological self-destruction on a scale that is almost impossible to comprehend. For the first time, using advanced seismic imaging, scientists have captured a clear picture of this event. A 75-kilometer-long wound opening up in the Earth's crust. Researchers are calling it a subduction zone caught in the act of dying. And the strangest part of this story is not that a plate is breaking. It is what this slow-motion train wreck means for the millions of people living directly above it, and for the catastrophic earthquake the region has been bracing for over generations. To understand what is happening miles beneath the waves, you must first understand the battlefield, the Cascadia Subduction Zone, a 1,000-kilometer megathrust fault stretching from Northern California to British Columbia. For millennia, a small oceanic plate called the Juan de Fuca has been grinding its way underneath the massive North American plate. Moving at about 4 centimeters per year, the same rate your fingernails grow, it is a relentless, unstoppable force. This process of one plate diving beneath another is called subduction. It is the engine that drives the largest earthquakes on our planet. But the northern end of this zone has always been different, more complex, more seismically active. Scientists long suspected something unusual was occurring deep beneath Vancouver Island, but the technology did not exist to see it clearly. Until 2021, a research project called CAS-IE21, the Cascadia Seismic Imaging Experiment, deployed a fleet of instruments to create what is effectively an ultrasound of the Earth's interior. What they found has rewritten our understanding of how subduction zones end. The lead researcher analyzing this data is Brandon Schuck, a seismologist at Columbia University's Lamont Doherty Earth Observatory. His team's work, published in the spring of 2026, revealed the damage in stark detail. A massive tear, 75 kilometers in length, propagating through the subducting Juan de Fuca plate. At the points of fracture, the tectonic slab drops vertically by 5 kilometers. A subterranean cliff face plunging more than 1.5 times the height of the Empire State Building, straight down into darkness. This is not a future possibility. It is happening now. A single frame in a geological process that takes millions of years, and we are alive to witness it. It's a lot to process, and I'm curious what your immediate thoughts on this discovery are. You can let me know in the comments below. But here is the detail that tells the real story. The Juan de Fuca plate is not supposed to be this fragile. Younger oceanic plates are typically thick and strong. Yet the data from CAS-IE2 revealed a critical vulnerability. The section of the plate diving beneath Vancouver Island is unexpectedly thin, less than 6 kilometers thick. It is also young, warm, and buoyant, having just recently formed at the Juan de Fuca Ridge, a mid-ocean spreading center further west. Imagine trying to force a thin, buoyant sheet of styrofoam into a pool of water. It resists. It buckles. It does not want to sink. The Juan de Fuca plate is doing the same thing. Pulled by the immense gravity of its older, colder sections sinking deeper into the mantle, but pushed up by its own natural buoyancy, it is caught in a tectonic tug-of-war. The ancient laws of physics dictate that it cannot win. Under the immense weight of the overlying North American continent, the thin, warm plate is not just bending, it is failing. It is ripping apart segment by segment. This discovery fundamentally changes the old narrative. Geologists once theorized that subduction zones might simply turn off, that the engine would seize up all at once. The reality, Brandon Schuck states, is far more chaotic. He describes it perfectly. Rather than shutting down all at once, the plate is ripping apart piece by piece, creating smaller microplates and new boundaries. This is the death of a subduction zone, not a quiet end, but a violent fragmentation. And this process is not new. Look north of the main tear and you will see the evidence. The Explorer microplate, a smaller chunk of crust off the northern tip of Vancouver Island, is a piece that has already broken away. It is separated from the main Juan de Fuca plate by a massive active fracture called the Nootka Fault Zone. For years, the Nootka Fault has been a source of constant seismic chatter. It is a left lateral strike-slip fault, meaning the two sides are grinding past each other horizontally. It initiated as a broad shear zone approximately 4 million years ago, a scar that marked the beginning of the end for this section of the plate. The CAS-IE2 data shows what happens when that scarring process reaches its conclusion. The Explorer microplate is a case study in what is now happening to the larger Juan de Fuca plate further south. A precedent has been set. The fragmentation is spreading. Now, here is the part nobody is putting on the news. When analyzing the seismic data from this massive tear, scientists found something deeply unsettling. Gaps. Long stretches of the 75-kilometer fault that are seismically quiet. An absence of earthquakes. Common sense suggests that no earthquakes means no problem, that the danger has passed. The geological reality is the precise opposite. An active fault that is silent is often the most dangerous kind. Brandon Schuck explains the chilling mechanics of this silence. The earthquakes we feel are the product of friction. Two massive pieces of rock are stuck together, building up enormous strain. When the strain overcomes the friction, the rock breaks, releasing energy as a seismic wave. That is an earthquake. But what happens when the rock is no longer stuck? What happens when it is already completely snapped? The strain is gone. The friction is gone. The earthquakes stop. As Schuck states, once a piece has completely broken off, it no longer produces earthquakes because the rocks aren't stuck together anymore. Those silent gaps along the tier are not zones of safety. They are places where the plate has already separated. The battle in those sections is over. The subterranean cliff has been fully formed. The data from CAS, IE2, one shows a clear difference between what researchers call a mature tear and one that is still developing, near the Explorer microplate. The older fracture shows a near-vertical wall of seismicity, a map of past earthquakes that traces the line of a complete break. The new 75-kilometer tier on the Juan de Fuca plate is less developed. It is still actively breaking, generating earthquakes and foreshocks, such as the swarms of magnitude 4.8 and 4.2 quakes recorded west of Port Hardy in the spring of 2026. These are not random tremors. They are the sound of the Earth's crust actively being ripped apart. The silent zones are the future state. They are a preview of what the entire fault will look like after the catastrophic failure is complete. It is the noise that tells you the break is happening. It is the silence that tells you it is already done. If you find this kind of deep dive into the hidden mechanics of our planet compelling, you can subscribe for more stories like this. 1. We try to go beyond the headlines. Anyway, the tearing plate is only half the story. The immediate threat it poses is how it changes the behavior of the larger system it is part of. For over 300 years, the Cascadia subduction zone has been locked. The Juan de Fuca plate is stuck against the North American plate, building stress across its entire 1,000-kilometer length. We know this because of what happened on the night of January 26th, in the year 1700. At approximately 9 p.m. Pacific time, the accumulated strain of centuries was released in a single catastrophic moment. The entire fault, from California to British Columbia, ruptured. The resulting earthquake is estimated to have been a magnitude 9.0 or greater, one of the most powerful seismic events in recorded human history. The continental shelf lurched seaward and downward, dropping by several feet in minutes. This motion displaced a colossal volume of seawater, generating a massive tsunami. Along the outer coast of what is now Washington, Oregon, and British Columbia, a wall of water erased entire coastal communities. For centuries, this event existed only in the oral traditions of the region's indigenous peoples. The Pachena Bay people, on the west coast of Vancouver Island, have stories of their winter village at the mouth of the Pachena River being completely destroyed by a catastrophic wave that arrived in the middle of the night. But without written records from the Americas, scientific proof was elusive. The mystery was solved not in North America, but across the Pacific Ocean, in Japan. Japanese historical records from the late 17th and early 18th centuries document a mysterious tsunami that struck the coast on January 27, 1700. It caused flooding and damage, but there was no local earthquake to explain its origin. It was an orphan tsunami. Years later, seismologist Kenji Satake at the University of Tokyo made the connection. By modeling the tsunami's travel time backward across the Pacific, he calculated that it must have originated from the Cascadia coast approximately 10 hours earlier, placing its generation at around 9 p.m. on January 26th. The oral histories and the Japanese records told the same story from opposite sides of the world. Back on the American continent, geologist Brian Atwater of the U.S. Geological Survey found the other piece of the puzzle. Along the coasts of Washington and Oregon, he studied ghost forests, groves of dead red cedar trees standing eerily in coastal salt marshes. By studying the tree rings, he determined they had all died simultaneously. The cause was a sudden influx of salt water, which happened when the land they were growing on abruptly dropped during a massive earthquake. The soil evidence, the indigenous histories, and the Japanese tsunami records all pointed to a single, terrifying date, January 26, 1700. Geological evidence from sediment cores tells us that these magnitude 9.0 events happen on average every 300 to 500 years. As of early 2026, it has been 326 years. The clock is ticking. And now, the tectonic plate that is set to produce this next great earthquake is showing signs of actively dismantling itself. This introduces a terrifying new level of uncertainty. Scientists like Johanna Wagstaff, a science reporter for CBC News, have spent their careers communicating the risks of a unified Cascadia rupture. But what happens when the rupturing plate itself is not unified? What happens when it is broken and fragmented? Does a torn plate produce a smaller earthquake? Or does it produce something more complex, a series of cascading failures that are harder to predict and more chaotic in their effects? The science on this is new and unsettled. The tearing creates new boundaries, new points of friction, and new segments that could rupture independently or in concert. It fundamentally complicates the forecast for the big one. It's an unnerving thought. Maybe send this video to a friend you'd want on your earthquake survival team. It is better to be aware than to be surprised. The implications go even deeper than earthquakes. The tearing of a subducting plate creates something geologists call a slab window. Imagine the Juan de Fuca plate as a solid floor descending into the planet's interior. When a piece tears away, it opens a hole in that floor. Through this window, the superheated rock of the Earth's mantle, normally kept deep below the crust, can rise upward. This rising hot material can interact with the plumbing system of the volcanoes on the surface. Directly above the Cascadia subduction zone sits the Cascade Volcanic Arc, a chain of iconic mountains, including Mount Baker, Mount Rainier, Mount St. Helens, and Mount Hood. These volcanoes exist because of subduction. As the Juan de Fuca plate sinks, water is cooked out of its minerals, which then rises and lowers the melting point of the mantle above it, creating magma. But a slab window could change that chemistry. It could alter the temperature, pressure, and composition of the magma that feeds these volcanoes. We do not know what that change will look like. It could alter eruption styles, increase the frequency of activity, or change nothing at all. The breaking of the plate deep below is replumbing the entire volcanic system, and we are only just beginning to understand the consequences. In the face of these immense geological forces, the human timescale becomes brutally short. Should the Cascadia Fault rupture tomorrow, the Pacific Northwest Seismic Network, directed by Harold Tobin at the University of Washington, calculates that communities on the outer coast of Vancouver Island, near places like Tofino and the Pacific Rim National Park Reserve, will have between 10 and 20 minutes of warning before the first tsunami wave arrives. 10 minutes. To get to high ground, to account for family, to escape a wall of water generated by an earthquake that has been building for over 3 centuries. This is the sharp edge of the science. The data from CAS, IE2, one is not an academic curiosity. It is a live portrait of a system under immense stress, a system that is beginning to fail in ways we have never before witnessed. The tremors west of Port Hardy,